I have someone named user. User, could you please let me know your name? Let me just send a text message to everybody, chat in the chat box. Okay, so let's continue. We have several options when it comes to price adjustment strategies. Okay, the first one is discount and allowance pricing. Okay, with these pricing strategies, we actually say we give certain conditions for the customers, because the customers give us a good terms and conditions as well in the transaction. For instance, they may buy in bulk. For instance, they may buy the product in high volume. So they we're happy to give them the discount and allowance. Okay. The second one is segmented pricing. With the segmented pricing, we actually give them a special price because they belong to certain segments. Okay, so if you look at Sydney Railway, for instance, okay, and they may say for pensioners and children, they may give certain price, all right, cheaper price, okay. So that's what we call as a segmented pricing strategy, okay. Look, sometimes when it comes to cinema business, for instance, it may not, because they do that for because they want to show that they are socially sensitive. You need to look at that further, right? Because very likely they do that because they want to get the higher volume to absorb the high fixed cost. Okay. The next one is psychological pricing, where they adjust the price because they want to create certain perception in the consumer's mind. Okay. What kind of perception? It can be the perception of being affordable or cheap, and the perception of being premium, okay, or the perception of showing strong quality, okay. So if you go to Woolworths and Coles, for instance, you may find a product $3.99, although as a customer we end up paying $4. All right. Now you can tell whether it is still effective or not. Okay. Now, the next one is promotional pricing, where we adjust the pricing on temporary basis for temporary reason, all right? Because we want to get high volume during that period, okay? And the next one is basically about geographical pricing, where we adjust the price because of the geographical location. Okay? Remember, the price is expected to exceed the costs, okay? So one of the costs that we need to consider is the distribution cost, the logistical cost, all right? Think about Australia, for instance, okay? We are such a huge land. Australia is such a huge land, okay? Our manufacturing facility is probably in the eastern coast, either in Eastern Coast or Victoria, and we need to ship the product to the western coast, Perth, and so on and so forth, for instance. All right, so that is a long way to ship the product, right? And that means cost to the business, right? Therefore, some marketing organizations may use the geographical pricing strategy to adjust their price. Okay, so a number of strategies that can adopt. They can use a single price, right? So they charge the same price for all customers in Australia, for instance, right? What it means is actually the customers who are quite close to their distribution center, would normally subsidize the customers who are quite far from the distribution center. Okay, they may also adopt the zone pricing strategies, right? Zone 1, Zone 2, and Zone 3, for instance, right? Zone 1 being in the, let's say, in the eastern coast, Zone 2 probably in the center, and Zone 3 is, you know, in the western coast, for instance, right? And the other pricing strategy that they can they can adopt in the other geographical pricing strategy that they can adopt is actually the FOB. So they're going to ship the product free on board, right? From the port to the customer's distribution center. The customers would pay for it. The customers would pay for the cost. Therefore, they can adjust the price accordingly. Okay. So that's geographical pricing strategies, right? Now, dynamic pricing is actually adopted by the company that adjusts the pricing strategies based on the customer's need. Okay, what the customer's needs are. It is based on the negotiation. It is based on the bargaining position of the customers, right? And then they adjust it accordingly. Okay. The last one is the international pricing. Okay, so they adjust the price because of the international market. Similar logic to the geographical pricing. Okay, because overseas market means longer distribution network. Therefore, it may affect the costs of the company. Okay, right. So guys, pick one of them. All right, that is appropriate. Okay, so you plan your pricing strategies since the beginning. Okay. Either discount, segmented, or whatever it is. Okay, so pick one of them. Okay, for you to adjust. Okay, your pricing strategies. Okay. Any questions before we move on to the promotional variable? Any questions, guys?
No.
All good?
All good.
Brilliant, brilliant. Right, let's move on. Yeah. The next ones are basically the explanation of the price adjustment strategies. Okay, and I'm not going to discuss that. You can go through it yourself. This is the placement that we discussed last week. So we've discussed that. So let's move on to promotion. Okay. Right. Now, promotion actually comes from the word promoviere. Okay. It means to move forward. In the context of marketing, when it comes to moving forward, okay, moving forward one thing from one party to the other party, that involves the process of convincing the other party. Okay. As a result, that involves communication process. Right. In other words, the essence of promotion is communication. Okay, so please bear that in mind. Okay, therefore, in the context of marketing, this communication is actually marketing communication. Okay, so you need to think about marketing communication, right? That's the reason why the term promotion has been relabeled into marketing communication, right? And I noticed that organizations also changed the title of promotion manager to marketing communication manager, right? Because they are aware that the value of promotion is actually communication. Okay. Now let's move on. Now, what is communication? Well, communication comes from another Latin word, communis. Okay, that actually means commonness. Right. So what does it mean? When two parties are engaged in the communication process, these two parties are actually trying to create the commonness between the two. Right, so the more they communicate, the more overlap areas or the more agreement that they can create. Although they may end up agree to disagree, for instance, but they have achieved something. Okay, so that's what we mean by communication. Okay, now this is the communication process. This is the marketing communication process that that we can also refer to. Okay, we have source in here the marketer or the marketing communicator, right? The brand manager, the marketing manager, the brand ambassador. Okay, and they have the objectives. right? The objectives in here include creating awareness, image, and behavior. Now, you may recall that we discussed this some time ago that marketing objectives may also include the communication aspect, okay? So communication objectives always revolves around these three aspects: the awareness, image, and the behavior that you want to influence, right? And that will be translated into certain message, like in the advertisements or the point of purchase or any message, okay? And it will be conveyed through certain media channel or message channel, okay, like electronic media or digital media or print media and so on and so forth, to deliver to certain target audience, okay, in this instance your target consumer, okay. And your target consumer will tell you whether you have achieved the outcome or not, whether they have created, whether you can create the awareness or not, whether you can create certain image or not, whether you can influence their behavior or not, okay? And that they will give you the feedback whether you have achieved that or not, okay? Along the way of the process, you have what we call as noise, which is basically the disruption for the marketing organizations, whether they achieve the goal or not, okay? Right. Now, I think the objectives in here deserve our discussion a bit more, okay? If you go back to the objectives, okay, awareness. What do we mean by awareness? It is the level of knowledge. The level of knowledge that the customers have about our products, okay? It may be the brand name, it may be the benefit of the product, it may be any features related to it, okay? That's what we mean by awareness. The next one is image. What is image? Image is actually certain word that the customers use to describe our brand. Okay, so think about, let's say, Mercedes or VW or BMW or my name, Eddie, or I'm a brand name as well. Okay, or your name. Okay, you are a brand as well. Okay, what would your customers know about you? Okay, how would your customers describe about you? Okay, so that's the word that they use to describe you. That is the image. Okay, and the next one is the behavior, influencing behavior. Okay, this is actually about the action that we expect from the customers. Therefore, there are two things in here that marketers would normally include. Okay, when it comes to briefing the campaign for their agencies, for instance, they would normally explain the current behavior or current consumer thinking, okay, and then they explain the desired behavior, okay. This is the current behavior. Let's say if you're in the business of ice cream or snack, okay, the current consumer behavior thinking is actually, well, the consumers say they don't want to eat that because they feel guilty. Okay, they feel guilty because getting fat, getting cholesterol, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's the current consumer behavior thinking. After you run the campaign, what is the desired behavior? What you expect the behavior to change to? Okay, remember, when it comes to communication, you expect the changes of the consumer. Okay, let's say, well, after they watch my advertising campaign, I expect the consumers to change the behavior, by saying, well, I know it's bad, but I deserve it. Okay? I know eating that is bad, but I deserve it. Why I deserve it? Because I've been good, right? I got a pat on my back in the office. My boss likes what I do. My boss likes what I've done, right? I've achieved that. I have achieved the goal at work. And at home, I'm a good person as well because I cook nice dinner. My partner likes it. My kids like it. That's it. Now it is me, my time, and I deserve something to reward me, right? So that's the behavioral. That's an example of behavioral change that we plan in our communication campaign. Okay, right. So these things can also be. If you look at that, you can also you can also think about having them as a goal. Okay, how do you write as a goal? You can explain how much awareness that you want to get, and so on and so forth. Okay, Right. So hopefully that gives you a bit of idea when it comes to communication process, especially in regards to the communication objective. You can also include the objectives in your marketing plan. Communication objectives to create, let's say, 10% awareness, or by the end of the fiscal year, okay, or to create 2% awareness or 5% awareness by the end of 2019, for instance, okay. Image, I want the consumers to think that I'm a premium brand when they see my brand, or if you think about brands like Coke, for instance, they've been running campaign happiness, right? So when the customers think Coke brand, they will think about happiness, right? Sharing the happiness, or farmer sun for farmer summer fun, for instance, okay, something like that. So that's kind of image, okay. Influencing behavior, I want to influence the consumer's behavior from this to that, right? That's an example, okay. Are we comfortable with that, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay. Look, if you have questions, don't hesitate to jump with your questions. Okay. Right. So we've discussed before that the essence of communications is the essence of promotion is communication. Therefore, we label the term promotion into marketing communication. Right. Now, how do we get to the the word integrated? Okay. Let's look at this. Okay. We have 5 tools, right? Now, we are going to discuss these 5 tools, okay? Briefly, all right? These 5 tools, although we have 5 tools, they have to be integrated, okay? Because we need to convey consistent, clear, and compelling message, right? Therefore, we have what we call, this is how we get the word integrated, okay? Since we are aware that all tools in here should convey consistent, clear, and compelling message for the customers, we, as a marketer, we need to integrate them into one plan, okay? You can't say something premium, for instance, in your advertising campaign, and your salesperson, your personal selling team will tell something different, okay? Now, it's actually affordable, okay? So it doesn't make sense for the customers, right? Therefore, it has to be integrated, okay? That's how we come up with the word integrated, okay? So by now, I do expect that you are aware. We have discussed the term promotion. It has evolved into marketing communication because the essence of promotion is communication. And then we know that there are 5 tools, right, that we need to use in our marketing plan. And those 5 tools need to be integrated. Okay, so that it has become IMC, integrated marketing communication. Okay, now let's look at them briefly. These are the 5 tools: advertising, sales promotion, personal selling, public relations, and direct marketing. Okay, now advertising is actually non-personal presentation. Okay, by an unidentified sponsor, right? The term advertising here actually includes the traditional media. Okay, TV, magazine, all right, billboards, bus ad, for instance, all right. So they are the traditional media. Okay, it is actually, if you look at that, I just write here, traditional media. Okay, so when you include the social media in advertising, it is not accurate. Okay, because the logic in the advertising is different to direct digital marketing campaign, all right? In the case of, if you look at in the traditional way, I'm bringing my pen. Oops. All right. In the traditional way, if we have the marketer communicating to the customers, okay, it was pretty much the marketers talk to the customers, okay, pretty much one way, okay. So in the olden days, okay, when marketers still use the traditional media, the TV and so on and so forth, marketers design the message, and then they decide how many spots and so on and so forth on TV and so on and so forth, right? So they convey the message, okay? Now, in today's business landscape, it has changed because of the internet, because of the digital technologies, right? So that the customers talk back to the marketers, right? Not only that, the customers also talk to the other customers. They may also talk to the competitors. Okay, therefore, that is the logic that is driven by the internet, the digital technologies. Okay, therefore, if you say that you want to use for your advertising campaign, you want to use digital media, you want to use Facebook, you want to use social media, you want to use website, it is not accurate. Okay, so please, when it comes to advertising, think about the traditional media. Okay, I want to use TV, I want to use catalog, for instance. If it is a business-to-business marketing, then you may want to talk about the product catalog, for instance. Okay, I want to use bus ad, for instance, and so on and so forth. They are the traditional media where you design the advertising campaign, you convey the message, that's it. Very little chance that the customers talk back to you. Yeah, is that okay, guys?
All good.
Yes.
Yep, brilliant. So make sure that the advertising here is actually the traditional media that you want to use, okay? So for your assessment, please explain, after you explain the objectives, right, the awareness, image, and behavior, you explain the the 5 tools that you want to use, right? Either you want to use them or not. If you don't want to use this, you explain, we are not going to use this because of what, okay? We are going to use this because of this, and this is the specific media channel that we are going to use, right? Like TV, magazine, or local newspaper, and so on and so forth, okay? Now, next one, sales promotion. Sales promotion is actually short-term incentive, okay? So we give the consumers short-term incentive because we want to increase our sales during that short term, okay? If we go back to advertising, in the olden days when I started my career in marketing, we pretty much allocate most of the dollars into advertising campaign, okay? But we are aware that advertising alone is not enough, right? We think about this. You are not the only one who will advertise. Your competitors will advertise. The other brands from different industries will also advertise. That means the advertising industry will be cluttered, right? The message in there would be crowded, right? So the sales promotion here helps us to make our message stand out, okay? Now, the other reason why sales promotion has gained stronger momentum recently is, especially if you're in the fast-moving consumer goods industry, there's a shift in terms of balance of power, okay? In the olden days, the manufacturers were quite strong. In today's business landscape, the retailers, if you look at the Australian retail industry, in the grocery channel, pretty much Woolies and Coles, right? You launch new products, you do not talk to Woolies and Coles, that's it. You're losing, a huge proportion of the business opportunity, okay? Therefore, and these guys, Woolies and Coles, will also run their own customer loyalty program, okay? Now, ask yourself whether you have the Flybus or everyday reward card and so on. So that is actually the retail channel, the effort of the retail channel to build their own loyalty, not your brand loyalty, okay? Therefore, you also need to stand out in the competition, so that you need to think about the other options of running sales promotional activities, okay? Now, what are the sales promotional activities? What are the examples? Well, many things. If you look at this presentation deck, you'll find some examples, either discounts, okay? You give certain premium, or you give certain gifts, okay? Or rebates for the consumers, right? Or you can also provide the samples and so on and so forth, okay? So your intention is to increase sales for short term, okay? And the next one is personal selling. Personal selling is actually personal presentation. In other words, when it comes to personal selling, you talk about sales management, okay, your sales force. Look, I understand that in today's business landscape, very likely that marketers are not managing the personal selling team. We are not managing the sales force team. But what you want to explain your marketing plan in here is what message that you want the sales force to talk about. Okay. So if it is a business-to-business marketing that you analyze, you want to ensure that the account executive has the message, understands the message that they need to convey for the customers. Okay. If you are in the consumer goods industry or fast-moving consumer goods industry, you need to describe what message that you want your sales team to convey for your customers, okay? Which is pretty much similar to your positioning strategy, okay? Or the benefit of your product, okay? The next one is public relations, which is basically building good relations with the company's public. Like how do they do that? They do that through publicity, press releases, okay, events, right, charity programs, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's the public relations activities. Okay, so if you decide to use this public relations campaign, you need to think about the, for instance, some activities such as publicity or press release. Okay, you do not need to write for your marketing plan. You do not need to write the press release, but you just need to write the intention. The purpose of this press release is what? Let's say to help us publishing the benefit of this product, for instance, if you think appropriate. Okay, how you get there? You may get engaged with the local sport person or local football team, for instance. Okay, or you can talk to local newspaper. Okay, hey, look, guys, we are new cafe here. We are going to launch it. I'm going to invite Master Chef, the winner of Master Chef, for instance, or I want to invite Gordon Ramsay, for instance, to come to my cafe. You can come here, and then I invite you to join us, for instance, okay, and so on and so forth. Think about that kind of activity, okay? Direct marketing, direct/digital marketing is the new one, okay? As we discussed before in the context of advertising, the direct marketing works differently, okay? In the case of direct digital marketing, we start with the customers, right? The customers talk back to us, as we discussed before, because we have empowered them, okay? Now, in the case of advertising, the marketers will convey the message, okay? But in the case of direct digital marketing, it is the other way around, right? Think about this. If you want to fly, let's say for your holiday, after you finish the semester, you submit the assessment. Okay, don't forget to submit that, okay? And you decide to go on holiday for a couple of weeks, for instance, going to Gold Coast, from Sydney to Gold Coast, for instance. What would you do? You will do Google, okay, to find the best price for you. What does it mean? You are actually looking for the marketer. You are looking for the right marketing organizations, right? So that's the different logic between direct digital marketing and advertising. Therefore, please make sure that you differentiate those two. Okay, so in the case of direct digital marketing, the customers, the consumers, okay, find you. All right, therefore, you need to design the message that suits your consumers when they need it. Okay, so in here, what you want to explain in your assessment in the case of direct digital marketing is the media that you want to use, right? The website, for instance. There are 4 things. I just want to jump to that direct digital marketing. Oops, sorry. Okay, so the purpose is actually to build one-to-one relationship with customized, with personalized through the personalized message. Okay, and the digital message in here includes the interacting with the non-customers. Therefore, you need to get the customers database before you can run this. Okay, so there are 4 things that we can do when it comes to direct digital marketing. Okay, create the website. Okay, you can think about creating a website. You can explain briefly. I'm not going to ask you to create the website. Okay, just briefly what the message in the website. Okay, which is pretty much about the benefit of your brand. Okay, if you have got the company's websites, you can also explain. I'm going to attach that special. I'm going to create a special page for my product, for instance. Okay, and then you can also consider participating in the search engine marketing. Okay. And you can also consider participating in the social networks like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so on and so forth, and using email blasts, okay, to convey the message. Okay, right. So, guys, they are the tools that you need to use when it comes to promotion. Okay, so there are 5 things in here. Let me go back here. Right. So you want to start with your objectives, right? That revolves around awareness, image, and behavior. Okay. After that, you explain the 5 tools, how you're going to use the 5 tools. If you say, I'm not going to use the public relations, for instance, I'm just giving you, a bit of illustration. You explain why you're not going to use it. Okay. You explain, we're not going to use it because of yada yada, or we are going to use it. What I'm saying is basically explain it. You use it or not, you explain it. Okay, but very likely you are not going to use one tool only. Okay, please use various tools. Right, very likely you may use everything in here. All right, you may use everything. Okay, all 5 tools in here. Okay, any questions so far before we discuss the assessment?
Hey, Eddie, it's Daniela. Just to be clear, we have to use these 5 tools and explain which one I'm going to use and which one I'm not going to use? Or should I pick just 2 or 3 and explain that?
That's actually a good question. Very likely you will use more than one tool, because if you use a single tool, it is not enough to reach your customers. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And second, if you do not use, let's say you decide to use 2 tools because of your analysis, based on your analysis, you decide 2 tools in here, like advertising and sales promotion are relevant, the others are not relevant. You explain why the others are not relevant.
Okay.
Briefly explain, this tool is not relevant because of what, okay? This tool is not relevant because of this. That tool is not relevant because of that, for instance, right?
Okay,
Third
thanks.
thing that I'd like to talk about, very likely the 5 tools are relevant, all right? If I run a cafe, the personal selling team is also relevant, all right? My waitresses are the personal selling team, right? They will look after the customers, all right? They will take the orders from the customers, right? They are the guys who deliver the service for the customers, yeah? My website is also relevant. The public relations, I may need to tone down a little bit because I'm a new cafe. I may not have the money to run the public relations campaign, for instance, okay? But if I have the money, I can talk to local newspaper, for instance. Let's say if I set up the cafe somewhere in, in North Sydney, for instance, new cafe, okay? I can talk to the local newspaper. Hey, look, can you please come here? I'm going to launch a new menu. This is new cafe, and this is our top menu, for instance. I'm going to get your feedback, okay, and get this person to write for you, for instance, okay, something like that. That's just an idea, okay, so you can develop around that area. Okay, have I answered your question?
Yeah. Thanks, Eddie.
Brilliant. Right, guys. We still have 5 more minutes here. Can I suggest we exit from the meeting, okay, and then we come back to the meeting spot by clicking the same link to discuss the assessment. Is that okay, guys? I'd like to discuss assessment 2 and 3. Is that okay? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Right. I'm going. Give me 1 minute to process the recording. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.